began our series 3 weeks ago, and we are headstrong into it. Today, it's about gift giving, whatever gift we might bring. And so, if you're familiar with the two websites, Etsy and eBay, I'm not a big Etsy guy, but I understand many of you are. eBay is more like new stuff, even slightly used stuff, and Etsy is more like homemade stuff, as best I can tell. Well, a few years ago, they did a little battle between them, and eBay, in fact, used a secret weapon. His name was Jim Gaffigan. You'll know Jim. You'll see his picture here in just a minute. Goofy sort of guy. But in the commercial, it mentions all the it gifts. You know, what's the it gift for this year? You know, we're going to go through those in a moment. But it mentions them, and then it shows him holding up hand-knitted mittens and smelling them, and wrinkling up his nose and saying, "It smells like church." Now, I don't know about you, but I take a little bit of offense to that. Obviously, I take a lot of offense to that, but the online discussion was interesting that followed that. It was widespread indignation from those that said, how, in fact, could eBay do that against Etsy? All the homemade, homespun, homemade traditions of gifts. And so the people were offended by the fact that eBay was slamming the other one. And nobody even noticed that the church was like old news there. Every year there is an it gift. If you're clued in at all, you'll know what it is. You only have to stand in the line at the bank like I was the other day to hear one of the mothers talking about with some of the folks in the bank about the fact that she was waiting on 3 gifts. One of them in particular was lost in the mail, is what they were telling her now. You know all that's going on in terms of people coming to your home and picking up your gifts from Amazon and that kind of thing, and how scary it is right now. And she told me it was one of the it gifts that was out there, and so we all look for those, the big score. If we can get that gift for our kids, just in addition to this, do you know that now on eBay that they have these robotic ways of ordering things from all the toy stores so that they'll get a bunch of the toys and then they can sell them on eBay for an elevated price? I can't imagine people would do that at Christmas, but they do. The it gifts, whether you are 10 years old, 30, 60, or 80. Now, we're going to go through what is the it gift. Well, how many of you were living in 1929? And if you were, what was the it gift? Well, let me show you what it was. It was a yo-yo. That's right, a yo-yo. Let's move forward quickly. In 1943, the gift that everybody had to have looked like this. Do they still use those? They do, don't they? Slinky's still slinking. How about the 60s and the 70s and the 80s? The Christmas were greedy gifts, and there are things like this, and I'm going to let you tell me what this is. Yeah, I thought you would. How many of you still have a Cabbage Patch doll? Okay. How many of you are willing to say it's your Cabbage Patch doll? Okay. There's a few of you out there. I thought there might be some of you. Cabbage Patch doll. How about the next one? Anybody know what this one is? Man, you are good. How many of you have Care Bears? It's the same people. It's the same people. Now, this may separate us. How about tell me about the next one here? Oh my gosh, you all are sick. I mean, it's the same people too. The next time I come to some of your all's houses, I want to see all those laid out on the bed, what they look like. All right, now we're going to get a little more complicated. How about this one? Well, one of the same people has that one too. All right, now we're going to separate into more of the men, I think. That's right. BF, I'm worried. This is your wife that has every one of these toys. And I know what she's going to tell me after church. She's going to say, It's for my grandchildren. She's only had grandchildren a few years. These things are really, really old. Yeah, granddaughter too. You keep saving them. Well, in that frame, here we go. Here's one that we'll all know. This was 1959. Can you imagine that? 1959, Barbie was introduced into our world. How about this one? Now, this will be a little bit more difficult. 1982, this is the BMX bike. Not just a bike, but this is the BMX bike. Now, for those of you who are a little gray around the edges, they call this all special and unique, the BMX bike. How many of you know that I had a bike just like that with high handlebars when I was ripping through the alley behind my house on 44th Street? And they call it something special today. All right, now we've shifted gears and we're into the modern, and in 1989, this was the one that came out. That's right, Game Boy. All right? Then, now, these are all the popular ones right this minute. I think you'll be able to figure these out. Apple MacBook Air. I knew somebody. How can you tell? The thin edge on the bottom there. How about this one? That, believe it or not, is the iPhone X. How about the next one? Xbox. I think that's the one that was lost in the mail that this lady was talking about. One more. This will be a little bit more difficult. This is the Kindle Fire. That's right. Okay, one more. For those of you who play games, that's the PlayStation 4. And that's a popular one. Now that I've educated you about the it gifts that live around us, think about how much gift giving gets kind of confused in this process that we call Christmas. I saw lots of your eyes light up because there is something fun about being able to gift give. There is. Think back about the time when you felt the transition, if you did, I hope you did, where you stopped kind of wanting gifts and you got the meaning of Christmas so well that the physical gifts, the financial commitment to gifts really got so burdensome that you really said, you know, enough is enough. I remember like it was yesterday, as you might well imagine when I tell you, and my brother Buck is here, he'll remember this. I had become a Christian and had been a Christian several years. Matter of fact, I think Neva and I were dating by now. And so I walk in for Christmas, and my mother literally had put a Honda 350 next to the Christmas tree. Now, I hadn't asked for one. She knew that my brother had one and that maybe I would like to ride one. But my mother literally, and we didn't have a lot of money, but my mom went out of her way to purchase for me a Honda 350. And I'll never forget it because I was at that point where I really wasn't asking for much, and it was kind of Mom's final gift to me. I know what some of you are thinking. Your mom bought you a gift that you could die on? I mean, yeah. But it was an incredible opportunity for Mom to express to us because we all grew up in and around motorcycles. So when was the last time that you've looked back on Christmases past and you thought about your best gifts? When were the times when you said, there was this gift given, it didn't cost that much, but it was very, very powerful to me? How about the best gift ever? Well, let me say a statement, and then let's walk around it. No thing can ever be the best present. So let's walk around that for the rest of our time. What does it mean that no thing can ever be the best present? The best possible present, gift, to receive and to give will not have a receipt, but rather it will have a relationship connected to it. The mark of a perfect gift is not so much what it is wrapped up with, but rather how the wrap of somebody's arms comes with that gift. I call it a nothing gift, if you will. It's a nothing gift because it literally costs nothing except you have to resign yourself to committing to knowing that you can, in fact, do nothing to get this, but when it comes, you must and you want and you desire to receive it. So what is a nothing gift? The healing of an old, hurtful memory. How many of you are walking through the end of this year and there is a memory over this past year that you would like to move on from? I got one of those. How about a word of forgiveness spoken and received? How about an estranged family member returning? How about a friend who is in fact reclaimed or restored? How about the love of a new relationship that's celebrated, and what that best present could give you at Christmas? The perfect gift is nothing that could be snatched off a counter on Black Friday or could be ordered from Best Buy or some specialty website. The best kind of gift have these three words embedded in them: forgiveness, restoration, and hospitality. Let's walk around those for a moment. There are two gentlemen that I have given an inordinate amount of my time and energy to this past week. And each week I have so much time and I have to decide where I give my time. The easiest way for me to give my time is just to tend to those of the flock who are already on the farm. I know them, I love them. For the most part, they all know me and love me. And it's the easiest is to tend to the flock. But it gets more difficult when you go outside the fence and you try to invite others into the flock. And it takes energy, it takes risk, and I've helped two men this week that by the grace of God I lean into in a way that's very, very positive. One of them is here today, and one of them has been invested by this church in a unique way. I will not identify him, but many of you know who I'm talking about, and I leaned into several of you this week to take a risk with me to assist a young man that this church has raised and loved and believed in. And I didn't have to ask twice. And I would simply say, my Christmas came because we got to extend what I would call a risky, redemptive opportunity in a young man's life. But there's also more than just the nothing gift where we have to resign ourselves to it. There is the surprise gift. The best gifts we give are the flip-flop of those that we long to receive, extending that olive branch in a broken relationship, offering forgiveness despite some past returns, some harmful things in the past. And so, whereas the first part of the nothing gift is that there's nothing we can do to make this happen, this is the part that we can do. We can surprise them. We can surprise, in some cases, I don't think we can ever surprise God, but we can agree that God will let us be involved in something that is a surprise to this. Another text, if you read the lectionary text for the week, another text for this week is Romans chapter 15, verse 7, where it says, welcome one another just as Christ has welcomed you. Who do you need to welcome this week? The truth comes into the world not through something pure and aesthetically clean, but rather it comes cradled in dirt and mangered in a mystery. And that's why we celebrate Christmas. That's why that silly story about the fourth wise man is so incredibly true, because it reaches us at our furthest away point, and it says surprise, it says unexpected, it says receive it. Paul insisted that the Gentiles, the people who had no history of God, those outside the farm, remember we talked about outside, not the flock, but those that are outside the flock. Paul insisted that those outside the flock, the Gentiles, were people who had no history with the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, but that they needed him. The Christmas gift is that opportunity where you and I look around at other people and we say, Do you know the reason why we do what we do? It is not about the present, it is about the presence of God in a new and a profound way. The Christmas gift that Jesus offered is also a TGIF gift, and that's our next point. It's a TGIF, not thank God it's Friday, but the gift is free. The gift is free. It's a regifting, if you would. How many of you, I'm not going to make you admit it in church, but how many of you have regifted something in your life? Every one of us have at least been tempted to. Oh, that's nice. I can give that to somebody else. The second biggest shopping day is not only the day, the first is the day after Black Friday, but the first one, of course, is the day after Christmas. But then we come to those decisions where we have no receipt. And we don't really want to go back to the person who did not give us a gift receipt. And so there we find ourselves, who can I give this to? And then you go through that wonderful moment where you have to decide, well, do I admit it or do I just let it be? When Scrooge wakes up from his Christmas Carol event, you all remember that. You remember the 4 lines he said? I looked them up this week. I love them. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to use them for Christmas this year. I am light as a feather. I am happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunk. Now, for those of you who know my past, you know that I have feelings around all those experiences. What Scrooge discovered is what scientists now have documented. That's right. What Scrooge discovered in that age-old story told around the Christmas Carol, now scientists, social scientists, are now telling us this: the worst thing you can do is spend money to get happy, is spend money on yourself. And if, in fact, you don't believe that, then something is wrong. Really. It's time to move to a place. There's a book, and as you might expect, I've got the cover of it here. It's entitled Happy Money, The Science of Smarter Spending. I think we have a copy. Yeah, there it is. Happy Money, The Science of Smarter Spending. And in there, in their words, buying gifts or giving to charity is often more pleasurable than purchasing things for yourself. But guess what they also say? Research suggests that we derive greater happiness from goods we pay for immediately and don't use for a small amount of time than things that we use now and pay for later. Now that has gospel on it, but it also has reality on it for those of us who use credit cards. It's incredibly easy to use it knowing that there are no immediate consequences. But if there are immediate consequences, as in Dave Ramsey saying we should all use debit cards, I'll never forget, I was ordering the things for the last Financial Peace University for our church. We had a class that was getting ready to start, and here I am, finally we're getting enough folks to have a class, and I'm so excited about it. And I'm on the phone with the salesperson, and he says, and you're going to, if you buy 10 of those, we're only going to have like 6 or 8, 7-hour class. If you buy 10 of those, then you get one free, and you can keep the others for the next class. Oh, that sounds great. Now, of course, I had the church credit card to order them. And the man on the other end started laughing. I thought it was pretty impersonal that he was laughing at me getting ready to make such a large purchase. He said, Dan, newsflash, we don't use credit cards. Of course, I knew that. So where was the only debit card I had? So I made a large purchase because we needed those. We've taken care of that by now, but therein lies that kind of secret. So let me give them to you again. Light as a feather, happy as an angel, merry as a schoolboy, and giddy as a drunk. Do you realize that McDonald's is bringing back the McRib again? If you haven't seen it yet, they're bringing it back again. I've been doing some reading on the psychology of the McRib. Have you seen the McRib? Well, let me tell you what it looks like. It's like they've taken a conglomeration of everything they had left over, and they put it in a nice little patty, and then they put little humps in it like a rib, and then they cooked it. And every time they bring that out, you know what? People eat that thing like it's going out of style. You know why? Because it's going out of style. They never let it come back for very long. Let me tell you the psychology of that. Psychology of that is you want what you cannot have. I've read whole studies on this. The funniest part of the description is for somebody to describe what's really in it. I won't tell you because you will never eat anything at McDonald's again. I tell you that because it's a part of this whole thinking that we have about if something is limited, we want to grab it. And so that's what happens this season of the year. We think this gift or that gift or this thing, and if we can just get one or more of those it gifts, we can just get one more of those things, when none of that matters at the end of the year, at the end of next year. None of that matters. What matters is the gift that you give in terms of your relationship with Christ and how that lives out. So my challenge to you this year is to give relational gifts. Give relational gifts. Things that include forgiveness and repentance and reconciliation, turning the other cheek and hospitality. Many of you will recognize the name Robert Fulghum. He wrote a book a number of years ago. It's entitled All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. In a later book that he wrote, he has a story about his little 7-year-old daughter at the time. Her name was Molly, and the story goes like this. She had the task of making her brothers and her dads putting their lunch in their bags every day. And so each day she got to put all the ingredients in the bag so that they would pick up their bags for lunch. But one morning, for no apparent reason, Dad goes to pick up his bag, and there are two bags there, the regular lunch bag, but there is another rumpled bag that is held together by duct tape, staples, and paper clips. And so the dad asks, why are there two bags? And she says, the other one is something else, just some stuff, take it with you. And so he stuffs the other one in his briefcase, goes on. When lunchtime comes, he takes it out, and while eating, he tears open the other bag, and he pours out the contents on his desk, and this is what he finds. 2 hair ribbons, 3 small stones, a plastic dinosaur, a pencil stub, a tiny seashell, 2 animal crackers, a marble, used lipstick, a small doll, 2 chocolate kisses, and 13 pennies. He smiles as he examines Molly's trinkets, and he's touched, but the responsibility calls. He rushes off to more important concerns quickly. Later, he's sitting at his desk. He sweeps his office clean, his desk clean before he leaves, and all of those things go into the trash basket before he leaves. And sure enough, when he gets home, Molly says, Dad, where's my bag? He says, what bag? She says, you know, the one I gave you this morning, I forgot to put this note in it. And she handed him the note, and besides, I want it back. He says, why? He says, there are things in the sack, Daddy, the things I really like. I thought you might like to play with them. But now I want them back. You didn't lose the bag, did you, Daddy? Oh, no, I just forgot to bring it home. Bring it in tomorrow, okay? Sure thing, don't worry. Well, you know what happens 20 minutes after that. He rushes back to the office. It's the evening. He is grateful that the janitor has not yet come through, and all the things that he put into the garbage can are there, and he pulls them out, and he brings that bag back home. And so there he finds all of the things that he needs to know. Several days later, he takes the bag to work, and he feels forgiven and trusted and loved. because she ultimately gave him the things that she wanted. This is the final word that he says. He says, in time, Molly turns her attention to other things. She finds other treasures. She loses interest in the game she grew up. Something else, me, I was left holding the bag. She gave it to me one morning and never asked for it returned, and so I still have it. And if the house ever catches fire, it goes with me when I run. Sometimes I think of all the times in this sweet life when I have missed the affection I was being given. A friend calls this standing knee-deep in the river of dying, knee-deep in the river and dying of thirst. It is all around us. So the worn paper sack is there, left from a time when a child said, here, this is the best I've got, take it. It's yours. Such as I have, give I to thee. Simple story, profound fact. You cannot buy the best gifts you'll get. And I hope you'll remember that at Christmas. This Jesus was wrapped in an old paper sack. I mean, nobody would have recognized the value of a Savior. But it was God's gift to us. And it's what we do with the affection surrounding the gift that he gives us that makes all the difference in the world. From the year I did not know Christ to the year I did know Christ, and how Christmas was different to me, I can only explain to you, there was darkness and then there was light. There was a gift-giving time that treated me and made me feel good, although I felt just as bad because I was looking around at other things, and the bottom line was, what am I going to get out of this? And slowly, when God turned my heart, it was about what can you give to other people. And this past week, as I mentioned to you, I got to be involved in 2 young men's lives in a way that is risky but redemptive. I wouldn't change a thing about it.